So we're going to go ahead and commence the February 19, 2019 Planning Commission meeting. It's now 7 o'clock p.m. We're at the Senior Center, 1555 Crystal Springs Road. The first item is the roll call. Please.
Chair Mason.
Here.
Vice Chair Lagasse.
Here.
Commissioner Biasotti.
Here.
Commissioner Johnson.
Here.
And Commissioner Lethine.
Here.
Thank you.
Commissioner Biasotti, would you please lead us in the
Sure,
pledge?
of course. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America.
to the
To the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
liberty, and
indivisible,
justice for all.
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. The first item is the approval of the minutes of January 15, 2019. Does the commission have any comments?
No comment.
None from me.
Commissioner Johnson was not present, so do we have a motion?
I move that, I move that we approve the minutes of January 15, 2019.
Okay, second.
I'll second.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? No. So the motion carries. Go into communications.
Chair Mason, we have no additional communication tonight.
Thank you. Any public comment on items not on the agenda? Nope. Seeing as how there is none, we'll move on to announcement of conflict of interest. Are there any conflicts tonight?
Yes, I'll be recusing myself from the first item.
The 558 Hazel Avenue?
Yes, it's within my home's radius.
Okay, thank you. Any other? No? Okay, thank you. So then we'll go ahead and move on to Section 5, Public Hearings, A 558 Hazel Avenue.
Oh, this is the one. All right, off I go.
Good evening, everyone. The first project for tonight is 558 Hazel Avenue. The request for use permit to allow construction of 1,223 square foot combined first and second floor addition that would increase the gross floor area of the existing home by greater than 50%, exceed the permissible lot coverage greater than 42%, and propose second story with transparent windows adjacent to an abutting property which has a side yard greater than 10 feet, which is 25 feet per San Bruno Municipal Code. If approved and constructed, the total living area of the home would increase to 2,449 square feet, and the gross floor area of the home would be 3,029 square feet, including the garage. The subject property is located on Hazel Avenue on the east side of the street between Park Avenue and Genevieve Avenue. The subject lot measures 5,708 square feet. The home was constructed in 1951 and is located in the San Bruno Park Avenue subdivision. And immediately adjacent to the single-family home are other single-family dwellings. About any additional information, there is one accessory structure in the rear yard which is proposed to be removed. There are no active code enforcement cases. There is a 5 feet public utility easement in the rear of the property and a 25 feet easement in the side yard of the adjacent lot, which is to the right. There are 3 heritage trees in the side yard, and 1 tree is proposed to be removed. Heritage tree meaning measuring more than 10 inches. This tree is 11 inches in diameter at 54 inches above a natural grade. So the applicant is proposing 3 things. First, addition of a new bedroom and a full bath in the first floor. They are proposing to remodel the existing kitchen, bathroom, and 2 bedrooms. And they are also adding a new second story with 2 bedrooms and 2 full baths. The total addition would account to 1,233 square foot combined in the first and second floor of the single-family home. There is an existing half bath in the garage, which is proposed to be demolished and accommodate a new stairwell that would connect the first and the second floor. The proposed exterior finishes, roofing style, and the roofing material all matched with the existing house, and therefore they comply with the residential design guidelines. The staff analysis for the three points that a use permit is required is as follows. The project increases the gross floor area of the existing home as mentioned by 50%, and that is why a use permit is required. This is basically to more closely evaluate the neighborhood compatibility for larger residential additions that could change the character, but when staff analyze the project, it does not greatly change the character of the neighborhood. The use permit is also required to evaluate the percentage of lot coverage. This particular proposal exceeds the lot coverage by 20 square feet. Although this project exceeds the lot coverage, it would not greatly affect the permeable and impermeable area proportions on the subject lot. And the third thing, a use permit is also required for this project because it proposes transparent windows on the second floor. And this is to evaluate if there are any privacy concerns with the neighboring properties. However, it was found, it is analyzed that the distance between the property line of the subject property at 558 Hazel and 550 Hazel Avenue is 25 feet because of the easement. And there's also a 5 feet side setback requirement. And the proposed second-story addition will not have any impact upon the neighboring properties because it is set back from all sides. The house on the left side and opposite side of the streets are also two-storied, thus making this proposal even more consistent with the neighboring properties. The proposal otherwise meets the floor area, height, impervious surface, setback, yard, and parking requirements of the zoning district. And the proposed addition would result in a 5-bedroom, 4 bathrooms, living room, family room, kitchen home in a 2-story house consisting of 2,449 square feet of living space with a 580 square foot 2-car garage. Regarding the articulation for the front elevation, the proposal has a covered porch entry, and it is also proposed which articulates the front elevation further. And overall, the scale and exterior material of the proposed home, as mentioned, complies with the San Bruno residential design guidelines. The applicant has also provided a detailed landscape plan which involves removal of 2 non-productive fruit trees in the rear and a heritage palm tree in the front side yard. Removal of a heritage tree requires a tree removal permit, which the applicant has agreed to apply before a tree removal is carried out. This project was also reviewed at the Architecture Review Committee meeting on January 10th, and the committee forwarded the project with a recommendation to increase more pervious area in the rear yard. The applicant has addressed that recommendation and provided a revised landscape plan. Therefore, looking at all the requirements and the submission, staff recommends that Planning Commission approve use permit 18026 based on findings 1 through 6 and subject to conditions of approval 1 through 25. This ends my staff presentation, and if I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Does the commission have any questions before the applicant comes up?
Not here. I saw it in January, and I thought it was a nice project.
Good. No questions? Okay. I do have some questions. I just wanted to confirm that as of today, there's still no opposition from any neighbors?
No, there isn't any. We did not receive any comments from the neighbors.
Okay, thank you. I also wanted to make sure that the heritage tree that is in the staff report, that I guess the removal would be in accordance with the current policy. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And has there been any opposition to the removal of the heritage tree?
No, we did not receive any comments regarding that.
Okay. And then in the staff report number 6, under the page, sorry, I read it on my laptop, so I've got to find it here. It's on page 8, and it's number 6, where it says the residence shall be used only as a single-family residential dwelling unit. The last sentence of that section says any attempt to construct an illegal dwelling unit will result in code enforcement action by the city. And I saw that I've seen that before, but I also saw that in the next item. So I was just wondering if staff could kind of explain the process of what would happen at that point. What does that mean that there would be code enforcement action by the city?
So I believe the question is what would happen if there was an attempt to construct an illegal dwelling unit and then code enforcement action?
Yeah.
Okay. I realize I'm missing my name tag. I don't have one yet. Darcy Smith, Community and Economic
Thank you.
Development Director. So if we received complaints of the construction of an illegal dwelling unit, then we would open a code enforcement case and investigate that. As you know, the city does have a code to permit accessory dwelling units, but there's a process to go through for that. And if that could be permitted, that would be the process, and if it wouldn't be permitted, then any illegal construction related to an illegal unit would need to be abated through the building permit process.
Okay. Thank you. And then my other question was in regards to the actual design, which is on page A6. So it's at the end of this item, but it says A6 on the lower right-hand corner. So I'm not sure if this may have come up in ARC, so maybe my fellow commissioners can bring this up. But it appears that in this proposed front elevation N1, the windows on the second floor, they seem really far apart. I don't know if anybody else sees that, but like maybe, I don't know if they should be moving more towards the center a little bit, but.
To answer your question, yes, it did come up at the meeting, and we discussed, and as I recall, I think if the applicant's architect is here, they may clarify, but if my memory serves, it was for practical reasons that, of layout inside.
So maybe it's a good time to have the applicant come up, please. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Stephen Leslie. I'm the architect, and I'm here with the owner, Garrett Chan, with me. To answer that question, if you look at sheet A4, the floor plan, you'll notice that the windows line up with the hallway upstairs, which would be nice, and then the other window is just balanced on the other side, which would be over the landing of the stair. So if you brought them closer, then it just wouldn't be, it'd be nice when you're up there at the hallway and you look out and you have a view and you can walk up to the window and look in the view, but farther over it would just be over the stairs. It would bring in light, but not much visibility. But we didn't feel this makes or breaks the project. It still looks good.
I guess while we're looking at this, do we want to open this up to public comment for a minute? Maybe you can. Okay. Is there any public comment on this item? No. Seeing as how there is none, come back to the commission. Do any of the commissioners have any comments? on the design? No?
Clear design.
Okay. So I was not at ARC, so were there any other items that were brought up at the Architectural Review Committee?
Mostly we discussed the planters and the landscaping in the back. Let me pull my notes from the 10th.
Yeah, we increased the landscaping on the side and the rear. Reduced the hardscape.
We talked about the finishes. We talked about the geometry, not just the extent, but the geometry of the planters in the back. And we discussed the setbacks, but found no issues.
Okay. So I guess at this point, so my only comment is I think the windows just seem really, really far apart. So if you're looking at it from the outside, it might appear to look funny, but if any of the commissioners want a motion to approve, we can move forward.
Then I will motion that we approve use permit UP-18-026 with the findings of fact numbers 1 through, where's the last one? Through 6, and the conditions of approval, number 1 through 25.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Nope. And just for the record, Commissioner Lethian has recused herself because she's within the 300-foot radius. So with that said, this motion carries. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes. Can somebody call Commissioner Lethian back in, please? Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to item B, 1662 Hickory Avenue.
The next project is use permit 18027 at 1662 Hickory Avenue. The request is for a use permit amendment to allow the construction of a 409 square foot expansion to the approved project, approved use permit from 2016, which would further exceed the maximum 1825 square feet of habitable floor area for a single family dwelling with only one covered off-street parking space per the San Bruno Municipal Code. The existing conditions for the subject property, it is located on Hickory Avenue, south of Cedar Wood Court and west of Cherry Avenue. This is a rectangular shaped lot with a total size of 5,250 square feet. The property is currently approved for construction of a 2-story single-family dwelling consisting of 2,099 square feet of living space, which includes 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, 1 half bath, a living room, dining room, kitchen, plus an attached existing 220 square foot 1-car garage. The home was constructed in 1951 and is located on Mills Park 4 subdivision. Immediately adjacent to the subject property are 1-story single-family dwellings and a 2-story dwelling to the rear and north. The single-family dwelling is presently under construction with the foundation work completed and framing done for most of the part. The existing house does not have any accessory structures. There are no code enforcement cases, although staff has placed a stop work order on the existing construction. There is a 5 feet easement along the rear property line. There are no heritage trees, and regarding the previous additions or alterations, there is a 989 square feet first and second story addition that was approved in 2016 and is presently under construction. There are certain series of events about this project that I want to highlight. Number one, in 2016, the applicant applied for a use permit to build a two-story house, which I described a minute back. During the use permit application process, that was in 2016, the applicant had initially provided a design that incorporated 90.5 square feet in the side of the family room on the first floor. However, that proposal exceeded the internal planning threshold of 2,100 square feet of living space for a single family home, and the staff recommended the applicant to cut down the footage so that the living area comes below the 2,100 square feet threshold. Consequently, the applicant approved of the staff recommendations, went to the Planning Commission, and the use permit was approved. The use permit number was use permit 15017, and the applicant initiated the construction post the approval. Later, the applicant thought of adding another 409 square feet, which is this use permit that we are discussing today. But before that, this comprised of a new half bath and other miscellaneous expansions on the second floor. The proposed idea exceeded the 2,100 square feet living area threshold, exceeded the 1,825 square feet threshold of living area with a one-car garage, but remained under the permissible floor area and lot coverage requirements. So in order to pursue this idea, the applicant prepared the building permit plans and submitted to the city in May 2018. However, at that time, these plans were unintentionally not routed to the planning department, and planning department for review, and as a result, none of the planners could provide their comments regarding the 409 square feet expansion that was taken forward by the applicant. Consequently, a building permit was approved and issued to the applicant for the revision, which otherwise would have required a use permit. Based on the approved building permit, the applicant initiated the construction, and today the house is under construction based on the building permit plans. Later in November 2018, during the construction, the applicant wished to further expand the kitchen to enclose the 90 square feet cantilever from the second floor. And in order to get it approved, the applicant came to the planning counter and discussed about their plans to expand the house even more by 90 square feet. So during the subsequent conversations related to this new to-be use permit, staff found out that the building permit for the revised design of the approved drawings was erroneously issued to the applicant. As a result, staff set up a meeting with the applicant and architect and explained them the need for a use permit application and the need of an approval by the Planning Commission, as this project was approved by Planning Commission previously and there was a substantial change to the approval. Therefore, the applicant was also conveyed to stop the construction work until a final decision was made by the Planning Commission, and therefore we are discussing this project today as a use permit. So this particular use permit proposes adding 409 square feet of living area to the previously approved use permit. The project proposes to exceed, as I mentioned, the 1,825 square foot gross floor area. The existing garage size is adequate only for parking one vehicle. However, there is one more parking space in the driveway. The existing home which is under construction, is proposed to have 5 bedrooms, 2 bath, and 1 half bathroom home. The expansion would add, so the 409 square feet expansion would add another half bath to the first floor and 1 full bath to the second floor. This would not add any bedrooms, but only 1 full bath and 1 half bath to the approved plans. The gross floor area would count up to 2,730 square feet. The proposed project otherwise meets the lot coverage, floor area, setbacks, maximum front yards, impervious surface, and height requirement for the R1 district. Therefore, staff recommends that staff finds that the general appearance of the proposed addition will be in keeping with the neighboring neighborhood and will not be detrimental to the city, as it is consistent with the San Bruno residential design guidelines pertaining to the plane requirements, and also regarding the articulation and also the materials that are being used. We received 3 public comments about this project. The comments were received from neighbors located behind the property on Cedarwood Court. Both neighbors expressed opposition to the addition that is currently under construction because it blocks their views. Staff explained that the city does not have a view protection ordinance. They also, public comments, one of the public member also challenged ever receiving a notice for the Planning Commission meeting in 2016. However, staff explained that according to city records, the city had mailed them notices about the meeting for both ARC and Planning Commission, and now that the permit was issued to the construction of the 2016 approval. One comment was also received yesterday evening via email, and the neighbor mentioned the proposed house being out of character for this block. The neighbor also had concerns about 1-car garage for the house. Staff explained that the applicant has compiled and analyzed the house based on the San Bruno residential design guidelines pertaining to the plane, and also about the daylight plane requirements and articulation. And regarding parking, staff explained that San Bruno Municipal Code may allow 1-car garage with a use permit approval, whereas the house also has a concrete pad that can accommodate another car. This project does not require an architecture review committee approval, as this new application does not make substantial changes to the exterior, especially in the front. Also, the previous use permit application was reviewed by the committee, and staff feels that there are not many substantial changes at this time that needs a separate ARC review. Staff, therefore, after looking at the whole project, the staff recommends that the proposed use permit 18027, which proposes a 409 square feet first and second floor addition to the approved use permit, which exceeds the maximum gross floor area for a home, be allowed, as the zoning code allows flexibility from strict interpretation of the code with the approval of a use permit. Moreover, currently the house is under construction and open to elements in area while the owner of his family lives through the construction. If the applicant is denied, the applicant would need to demolish the unapproved part of the house, incurring unaccounted expenditure and heavy loss. It should also be noted that the applicant had no intention of building without planning approval, as they went through the right channels when they intended to expand more. Staff recommends that Planning Commission approve the use permit 18027 under special circumstances and allow the applicant to resume the construction work. Staff recommends the approval based on findings 1 through 6 and subject to conditions of approval 1 through 27. This concludes my staff presentation, and I'll be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Do any commissioners have any questions?
Yeah, through the chair.
Go ahead.
This might be a question for staff first. Can you provide me just the information on what is the requirements for garages? For instance, 1,800 square feet triggers 2-car garage. What is a 3-car garage square footage?
2,800 square feet.
2,800. Okay. I wonder how close we were to that. And 1825, right, for the two?
Yes, over 1825 requires 2.
Thank you. And I have also a question for staff. I wanted to know if there was discussion with the applicant about expanding on a garage, recognizing that we're now at 2,500 square feet, 2,508, and 1825 is the requirement for 2. Was there any discussion?
Staff had a discussion with them, with the applicant and the architect and the designer of the project, but looking at the existing condition, there is no room to expand for a 2-car garage because there was an existing first floor. The applicant was approved for a 2nd floor addition previously, and therefore there wasn't any room for expansion for a 2-car garage.
Thank you.
Through the chair.
Go ahead.
So it's my understanding that there's been a soft cap in our policy that says 1825 bumps you into the 2-car requirement. However, we have a precedent, if I'm not mistaken, that excuse me, we have a hard cap at 2,100 square feet. Is that something staff can speak about?
Yes, let me shed light on that. So the code as it's currently written requires if you have a 1-car garage and you're going over 1,825 square feet of habitable space, it requires a use permit for any portion above 1,825. Just to set a cap for staff, we had put a cap in there of 2,100, so someone could still apply for more than 2,100, but we generally would support only up to 2,100, and I think in the past year, I think you've had about 2 of these projects come to you like this, and so that's where that 2,100 comes from, that 2,100 square feet, but that is actually not codified, but it's just something internally that we use.
And furthermore, off the top of your head, are you able to recall in circumstances where applicants have asked for more than 2,100 square feet, whether we've given them approval for that, or if we have really stuck to our hard cap?
Well, I do recall most recently we did have a project that we did send back because it was more than 2,100 square feet. So that is your most recent project that you've had. This one we feel like it's somewhat of a special circumstance. If this would have come to us, I think, from the get-go, and we had an opportunity to opine on the matter, we would have maybe had a different recommendation to you here today. Mm-hmm. But given the circumstances with the permit having kind of fallen through the cracks in the department, and by the way, we have rectified that particular situation so that this will not happen again. The house is open right now. It's under construction. He was working under a certain permit that he had no idea hadn't gone through planning, and so I think for that reason we feel like it's a special circumstances. We didn't necessarily feel it necessary to further burden him. Also, the area of expansion is not resulting in any new bedrooms, so it's the same still number of bedrooms. It's on the 2nd floor. It's moving towards the street, so not towards the neighbors who are opposed to the project in the back. And then on the ground floor, there's a small half bathroom addition. So again, we kind of looked at the situation that got us here and where they're actually asking to expand and tried to weigh those things. And that's how we came up with the recommendation for you today.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I would just like to understand, however, how the May 2016 use permit worked. I'm not quite clear on the numbers. I understand from staff report that it was a little bit under 2,100. It was just under. But the numbers I'm seeing there for existing for the current, the new permit would be 23, 21. I'm not clear on what's what.
So, so the 2099 square feet living area, that's the living area without the garage. That was approved, like total living area was approved in 2016. Now you add 409 square feet to 2099, which gives us the 2508 square feet. So that's the total square foot of approval they are requesting for. So the 2099 is the living area, and now they are applying for 409 square feet living area again.
Okay. So that takes us to just about 2,500. My next question is probably more for the applicant, so I'll wait.
Okay. Are there any other questions right now at this time? No? Okay, maybe we'll invite the applicant up. Is the applicant here?
Hi, my name is Samir Nasser. I'm the owner of 1662 Hickory Avenue.
Great, thank you. It sounds like we have some questions for the applicant.
I was curious, having had to decrease the floor area to just under 2,100 in 2016 to be able to get under our internal cap, how did another 400 square feet addition come up? And I'm not saying there's anything wrong. I understand the error to be internal here, but how did it come? How did you come about? Saying let's add instead of let's subtract.
My architect is here. Can he also elaborate on the whole situation too?
Yes.
Good evening. My name's Patrick Berger. We were retained in early 2018 and given a set of drawings, and it was one of the early iterations of what was approved in 2015, and it was over the 2,100. And when I gave it to my CAD, one of my CAD people, I did the initial look, and then what I do is, as planning has mentioned, this 2,100 limitation is not codified. So when you look at the allowable floor area ratio and lot coverage, I worked within that structure. And I went to you and I said, look, the way I read it, we can add X amount of footage. We can add the half bath, we can expand the upstairs a bit. So he said, go ahead, So I did that, and it's just the way the circumstances went. So we had no idea. And when my guys took it in and submitted it, I thought normally it does get routed through planning, along with building and engineering, Department of Public Works, all of that. So we had no idea that there was any transgression over or anything exceeding 2,100. I knew nothing about that until just recently communicating with planning. And Michael and I shared a couple emails back and forth, and he asked what was the actual living that we had now, and I said 24 something, and then he emailed me back, well, how did it get there from 2,100? And that's when it first started, what's going on, And then when I looked, we got a copy of I got a copy for the first time of the CUP that was approved, and saw that it was limited to 2,100. So in short, I designed it within, like I've done for 40 years. I've been licensed architect 33 years, but I design and build homes for almost 40 years, and I always just go unless it is codified and there is something that says, you got to hold to this. Normally, as long as we design within the allowable floor area ratio and meet the lot coverage requirement, we're good. So that's what I did. That's what we submitted. That's what was approved. And we have a construction company and we're building it. And we've built the second floor. I mean, we're a day or two away from where we call for rough mechanical, electrical, plumbing, and framing. So we're allowed to insulate and, start doing the sheetrock and all of that. Now, the other one thing I wanted to point out, I know the neighbors are upset about view blockage and all of this, but the fact is that the silhouette that was approved in 2016, or 2016, has not changed. We didn't expand the back. There was a 12-foot section. We went a foot back more, but the roof height didn't change. The location of the ridge, the location changed of the ridge of hair, but it actually went forward. So, but there's no change in the height, and the silhouette that's blocked, is the same as what was approved in 2016. So it's not like we're making it taller, bigger, or whatever.
So you did not work with the staff report from 2016? You did
No, I
not
didn't.
have
I didn't have that. I was told that. I've had a lot of medical issues, so I was told by the owner that we had approval, planning approval, and I didn't think I had many projects going on. I didn't think to ask for any conditions or conditional use permit. I just knew it was approved by planning. So. And again, like I said, the normal sequence is I design it within floor area ratio and the lot coverage. My staff or myself, we submit it, and then planning and everybody looks at it again, and would comment and all. So in this case, it was just one of those things that slipped by. It didn't get routed to planning, and everybody else looked at it and was within all the guidelines of the floor area ratio and the lot coverage, so it was approved. So we got a permit and just started building it. I had not a clue until just a few weeks ago when we were talking about 90 more square feet because the second floor cantilever's out 3 foot. So the owner asked, well, can't we just use some of the space under that? So we went to talk to planning, see if we could build out under that 3-foot cantilever. And that's when we discovered this discrepancy.
I have to say, I have trouble imagining designing a project without looking at the conditions of approval. But if I understand the situation, then when you took the contract from the owner, you did not have the permit in hand, so you designed it without knowing about this limit. And then when it went for the building permit, the city did not realize that you had made changes to what they had approved. Is that about what happened? No?
The other parts of the city that looks at it, building, engineering, Department of Public Works, all those entities, look at their specific components, does it meet building codes and all of this? And planning didn't get it where planning would be the group that looks at the square footage we're submitting and all of that. So that part just didn't happen. So I had no idea that planning hadn't seen it.
Right.
So when we got the
that.
permit, we said, hey, we're good to go,
I think staff has a comment. Director Smith, or?
Yes, maybe I can just shed some light on the question you just asked. So the permit was approved pursuant to what was approved by the Planning Commission. It was a resubmittal that was submitted much later on, upwards of a year, that triggered why we're here now.
A follow-up to that question. So in 2016, when this project began, what was the requirement for parking back then?
It was the same requirement. It was still required a use permit for exceeding 1,825 square feet with a one-car garage. It's just that the project that was approved at the building permit phase after the Planning Commission was for 2099, so it was essentially 2,100. It's just that a subsequent resubmittal or revision came in for that same permit, and that one didn't get seen by planning and was issued. for a larger addition.
So is there anything today that we're being asked to approve that would not have been approved in 2016? Meaning, have any of the rules changed that would alter our approval had it been 2 years ago?
None of those codified rules have changed. We're still, if everything had come to you exactly as it is right now as a project, we would probably not be recommending approval because we have that threshold of 2,100. The only reason why we're recommending it now is because of the circumstances we're in right now.
Which was a mistake by, and I do want to say, in reading the staff report, I want to commend staff for at least acknowledging the mistake, and I saw that staff called in the planning department and also called in the family to come in and meet with everybody. So thank you for doing that. You're saying, though, otherwise this would actually not be approved had it not been for the mistake. Is that correct?
Again, we use the internal threshold of 2,100 when we look at projects that are requesting a use permit to exceed 1825 with a one-car garage.
Okay. It looks like Commissioner Biasotti, do you have?
Yeah, just as a matter of how we're going to move ahead with this, if we do decide to approve this, how can we mark this project specifically so that it doesn't become a precedent, so that someone else can't come back and say they did it? So how can we mark this project so that it's just a one-time only?
Well, I think that the minutes for this meeting and this discussion that we're having right now would clearly indicate that this is a special circumstances surrounding this particular project, if that is something you're concerned about. Obviously, it's not often that we bring a project to you that is already under construction and has a stop work order and whatnot, and it's had the same issues internally that we had with this one.
Right.
Again, those issues should not happen in the future.
So what I'm looking for is how can we word a condition of approval, because I want it in the conditions. So give that a couple of minutes thought. The next question I have is the 90 square feet that's under the overhang, is that built yet? The 90 feet that's on cantilevered over, is that built out yet, or is that?
No, so that additional 90 feet that they were requesting is not included in the project before you. We told them that there's no way we could support that.
Okay.
They could have brought that forward if they wanted to, but we couldn't support it.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
So that's not part of this project?
No.
Okay.
I'm going to go ahead and open this up for public comment, and then we can go back to, go ahead.
Through the chair. Also, when you indicated that you had not approved it, actually, you would have brought it for recommendation of denial, but potentially the commission could have approved it had we heard testimony, and so we could have been in that position to approve it, depending on all the specifics. I just wanted to be sure we clarified that it wasn't necessarily denied. It might have been a recommendation for denial. That would be it, correct? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is it okay if I open it up? Public comment, any other questions?
Can staff confirm, my understanding is that at the point of advancement it has reached, it's too late, it can't be scaled back to what was approved in 2016?
You know, the house is, the construction of the house was already done. The framing, the foundation, it's all done. So the ceilings are open, the walls are open. It's a construction zone now for us. We are really going through a tough time. And we want this project to go forward. I know the situation and jargon and the city codes and recommendation. But for me as a homeowner, I don't know the system. I don't know. I'm a just homeowner. This is not my understanding. That's why I hire people to help me out and guide me through the process so I could get that permit, so I could build my home. We are now under severe stress. Mm-hmm. Any backward results for us, as it's going to be disastrous financially, emotionally. I understand that we have to go through the process, but I hope everybody understands that it's out of my hand. I don't know how I get there. I don't want to be in that position, but I'm there now, and it's really frustrating. So I appeal to you, all of you, to understand my situation and help me to go through this process.
Just to clarify, I'm not talking about demolishing. I just wanted to know at the point of advancement, because it in the photos it's just blue tarp, so I don't know what it looks like. Can we return? Could we build to the plans that were approved in 2016, or are we past that now?
Well, yes, you could build to the plans from 2016. It would require significant deconstruction of what they've already constructed. So if you can imagine, they've already framed it up and they put like a plywood roof already, that portion over it. So it's the frame of it is already there. So, but yes, anything can be deconstructed.
Right. I would prefer not to require demolition if possible.
I'm going to go ahead and
just add a thought there. Based on the approved plans, the added footage is where we moved the front, not the round part that sticks out, the rotunda, but the two walls on either side. That's what we moved out. And to accomplish that, the engineering calls for beams and posts, and so that's all been in place, footing below. And
Okay, we can come back to the commission for more questions, but let me go ahead and open this up for public comment. Do we have any public comment on this item?
Hi, I'm Allison Williams, and I own 1641 Cedarwood Court. I just want to go to the 2016 letter that myself and my neighbors did not receive, or we would have been at this meeting then. And as far as I'm all for, I am for upgrading and improving your home. I don't want anyone in emotional distress. We are in emotional distress over this, so I understand financially as well, for we can no longer use the value of a view privacy for our resale. So I understand financial and emotional distress. Some of my concerns, going back to the car space, they say that the house does not have space for an added garage for additional cars. Well, the street and the block do not have space for additional cars. It is an issue, it has been. We have to yield to oncoming traffic as is, and in case of a disaster, can a fire truck come up those streets smoothly? We know that there is an influx of cars in that zone of where that house is already. This is just going to be additional. What else do I have? I'm concerned about the space around the fence. I don't know, we're so intrusive now, and I don't believe that it fits with the character of the neighborhood. It's a monstrosity. It does not fit. I don't know if I can show you pictures from my backyard and what my view was and what my view is now.
Yeah, you could bring that up here if you don't mind us. We'd share your phone, obviously pass it down, but.
This tree, if you just scroll, that was what it was before.
Do you mind if we hold on to your phone for just a minute and you can keep talking, and that way everyone has a chance to look at these pictures? Thank you. Go ahead.
Sorry, Darcy Smith, Community Economic Development Director. I would encourage you not to view those pictures because we can't make them part of the official record, so we're at a disadvantage. So
yeah, can you send an email to staff so that we can see the pictures and then they can become part of the minutes? That would be great. Thank you.
yeah, just generally
Fair enough.
not appropriate practice just because we can't confirm exactly what she showed you. But thank you.
So I'm going to actually ask, I'm sorry, Director Smith, but we're voting on this tonight. I would actually personally like to see those pictures.
Okay.
And the pictures that you show us, you can tell us which pictures to look at, and then we could have you email them to the staff, that then they would become part of the minutes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
We would have to request a continuance so that this information can be communicated to staff and we could distribute to the entire commission.
Okay, we may want
Should you wish to do that, but I would emphasize we don't have a view ordinance, so that information related to the view cannot be taken into account relative to the findings for the design guidelines.
Okay.
Since we don't have a view ordinance, so before we go down the path of a continuance to look at these photos, I just want to make you aware that they are not directly germane to the item before you tonight.
Okay, and I just do want to just say back to Director Smith that we have had people come up in the past with items that we have reviewed, and that has not been a problem in the past. So the commission will have to vote on whether there's a continuance or not.
Well, maybe beside the view, it's just the privacy issue also. I mean, because of where it is exceeding on either end, on all sides, for the lot space, it's just coming back into my neighbor's backyard and now on either side, which I'm just not sure if just the space on either side and the privacy issue. So I think that was pretty much everything.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else here for public comment on this item? Go ahead.
First of all, the building, the land itself, you have 85% of the land being used as structure. So what you're looking at from their window is all house. There is no landscape around there. From the end of that addition that they're going to be adding on there, you only have 5 foot from the end of the addition to their fence line. So we're almost like looking at the house here, and all you see is structure. Another thing now, they have the electrical line that goes to the house next door. It's laying on top of the roof of the new structure, which you're creating a safety fire hazard. That's something your inspector should be picking up on that. And like she said on Hickory, as you know yourself, the street is congested. With a 1-car garage, there's going to be more cars parking there. Right now, if you go up Hickory, every parking space is used. So if they use the garage, what are you going to do with the other cars that are there? Like she said, fire trucks can't get up in there. And plus right now, no disrespect to the owner, it's an eyesore for these owners to look out their window when they had a view of the airport, and all you see is one big structure roof, no backyard, and it's probably going to be cement going around to the outside of that building. It should have never been approved. And these people, unfortunately, and we polled some of the neighborhood, they did not receive a letter. And people on Plumwood that you have on the list did not receive a letter. So we don't know what's going on.
Sir, you're not required to, but I would ask if you could introduce yourself, if that's okay.
Pardon me?
If your name, please.
Phil Scromalia.
Thank you.
And I reside at 1820 Cedarwood Court.
Thank you.
And one of the concerns about the precedence of the neighborhood, absolutely it will be, because just how big this addition is, neighbors are going to have to do the same in order to have any sort of, privacy or view or just sunlight for that matter because of the obstruction of this. So it will be a trickling effect.
Right now, their bedroom looks into their windows. So
Yeah, so
if they're in the bedroom, everybody's looking at them in the bedroom.
Okay, thank you.
That's got no privacy at all.
Thank you for your comments.
Can I just have a question before we go?
Yes.
I have a question for staff, if I may. The notice, the 300-foot notice that should have gone out in 16, what was the status on that? I know you discussed it, but I am losing my mind.
Yes, the notice was sent to all residents within 300 feet, and then that's for this latest hearing, and also for the hearing
In 2016. So we've got that on record that it's out there.
At
Okay.
least according to our paper records, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Are there any other public comments on this item before we close public comment?
My name is Ken Suchitani. I live in 1621 Cedarwood Court, right behind this property. As she mentioned, I haven't received this letter, and I just noticed just this year they start building a second floor. That's why I was surprised what they're doing. That means I didn't receive any letter, so it's not fair.
Thank you. Any other public comment on this item? Does staff send these letters out certified?
No, the letters are not sent certified mail.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so back to the commission. Is there any questions or comments?
Through the chair. Did you come up with any wording for a condition?
Yes.
And it is,
I would recommend you insert this in the findings, because the findings is where you sort of document the logic or the basis for making the decision. And the parking discussion you can find on the findings on page 6 of the staff report. And I would insert this where there is a parking discussion under finding number 2. And you could consider inserting a sentence. I would insert at the end of the second paragraph where there's the mention of the parking, and I would insert the phrase, "This approval represents a special circumstance related to the issuance of a permit revision in air by the city and commencement of construction before this application was submitted and acted upon." So I think that documents the process that went through and the logic that you would use to make this approval a very special circumstance.
thank you for that.
Through the chair. Also, a question for staff. One of the comments was the privacy from the back. I didn't read in the staff report if there are any privacy windows in the back, or I'm not always a huge fan of privacy windows or obscure windows. I don't think they accomplish. Sometimes they're very necessary, but basically in a family room or a bedroom, it's not always number one choice. But I wanted to know if there was any opportunity, if there is a concern, if you actually can peer down. If there's only 5 feet, is that what I understand? There's only 5 feet from the end of the house to the fencing. I don't know how much between the fencing and the neighbor behind, how much fencing there is. I may not be able to figure this out tonight, but so I can't determine basically from window to window, from neighbor to neighbor, how much footage there is to determine if an obscure window would be useful or not. And are those bedrooms in the back? I mean, I can go back and look at the plans. I'm kind of taking a little bit of a shortcut here to see if there are bedrooms in the back or family room. And also the neighbors, are those, what types of rooms are in the back? Right. Sometimes they're closets, and they have windows in the closet, so they're not necessarily someone's going to look out through a closet.
Can you repeat your first question again about the separation?
Just trying to determine, one of the neighbors commented that they were concerned with privacy. And so I was trying to look at what's contributing to that lack of privacy. And so the footage between one house to another, there is the fence line and how much footage is between the house and the fence line, and then the neighbor's house on Cedar, how far back is that house from the fence?
Okay.
And then the other was the windows.
So this is an estimation, but I would estimate that there's upwards of 40 to 50 feet from building to building, and that would be the neighbor's rear yard on the uphill side on Cedarwood Court, and then the subject property's rear yard as well, so that from building to building, you have between about 45 to 50 feet.
And then the neighbors are on the uphill side of it?
Yeah, Cedarwood Court is on a slightly higher elevation.
Okay. I wanted to get a visual on that in my head.
Yeah, I did want to comment because I understand what you're asking. There are setback requirements, 5-foot side yard
That's right.
setback, which we meet. There's also a daylight plane requirement, which we also meet. And it isn't 85% lot coverage, it's whatever it is, but it's in the allowable lot coverage. And there is a big backyard. There's about 15-foot plus or minus patio, flat patio beyond the addition. And then there's a 6-foot retaining wall and another 5-6 foot. So there's substantial backyard.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
Through the chair. The folks that are speaking on the loss of a view, I really sympathize. I get it. My house has a view, and my house is 2 stories, and all my neighbors are 1 story. And if somebody were to build next door to me, I would lose my view, but there's nothing in our ordinances to prevent someone from doing that. So as we make these decisions, know that we're thinking about that, but there's just nothing on that regard that I can do.
And does the city have a plan to create a view ordinance?
Not at this time, no. I would just let you know that view ordinances can be very complex. And generally, they are still guidelines, so they cannot still be enforced as a matter of law. So when you talk about ordinances, just remember it's generally a guideline, so there's still discretion.
Any other questions or comments from the commission?
Through the chair. Just one last one. I know there were a couple comments about the fire trucks not being able to get through, and it just, safety. I live in a cul-de-sac, and it's really it is a challenge when you have enormous traffic and space and all of those components. But looking at the whole project, I don't believe that the building would contribute to a fire truck not being able to get through. I think it's the conditions of the street, if I'm correct on that, and it's difficult because I have faced that myself. So I want to just go on record that it's not a safety factor, and I think that's an important thing to address.
And Commissioner Biasotti has one.
Michael, I have one more question. So the project is a little bit bigger than what was originally envisioned, correct?
409 square feet,
right.
Correct.
But the number of rooms, the usage of the space is still consistent with what was there before. There are no additional bedrooms. There's no more anticipated people, like sleeping quarters and stuff like that. I mean, it's basically the same as before. Am I understanding that correctly?
It is still a 5-bedroom home, which is what was approved by the commission in 2016. A half bathroom has been added, and a full bathroom has been added.
So just bathrooms?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I just want to mention that...
Please get on the microphone so that the
I
public
just
can hear.
want to mention that we've been living there for over 14 years. We are 6 people. I have 3 adults and a child. So we've been living there for a long time, and the reason for the expansion, just so we could be all relaxed. When my kids were young, we tolerate 3-bedroom, 1-bathroom, but no more now. So much fighting and everything. But now we're going to be there for a long time. We love the city. We love San Bruno. We think it's one of the best cities in the peninsula. And in the future, it will have a great future, a great reputation. So we love it, and we're proud to live here. So we're going to be here for a long, long time. Unfortunately, we have 1-car garage, but fortunately, we have a driveway that fits 2 cars, and we use this all the time.
So I just want to concur that San Bruno is one of the best cities on the peninsula.
We love it.
But I want to just comment on something that you said earlier, which is that, that you don't know the process. And I do empathize with that, but the majority of the applicants that we see come here don't know the process. And they're all held to a certain standard, and they're all required to follow that standard. And so I do really empathize with the fact that you are where you are.
Thank you.
But it's really hard to really treat you in a different way than we are requiring all of our other applicants in San Bruno to be treated. So with that said, does anybody have any other questions or comments?
Through the chair, I do have one last question for staff. The architect had mentioned that the tolerance of the 1825 and 2100 square feet is not codified, or is it? It sounds as though it is not available to the public. I was just wondering if it's noted on the website, or if are there any materials that do demonstrate this cap?
So the 2100 internal cap is not codified, correct? It is something that staff would have disclosed to the applicant, and I'm not sure if the owner was in those conversations with staff back in 2016. I will say that it was a different staff member who's no longer in the department, and we had a different architect with the project, so there's a little bit of the consistency problem in what's happening, and it's developing all with the same project. But no, that is something that staff would have told them in the initial outreach after reviewing the project, that, hey, look, our internal threshold is 2100. We really cannot support this. So if you can get it down below 2100, then we can take it to Planning Commission and we can support it. But it is not written anywhere.
But 1825 is?
1825 is, yes.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
I knew it.
I would just like to recommend that the Planning Commission do not take into account issues of view or masses or building shape that were already approved in 2016. Anything that's unchanged, I would recommend we do not reopen and look only at what is changed.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner. Any last questions or comments? Final? Nope. Okay, so with that, and with the fact that we've had 2 people come up with cell phones with pictures, do we have any motions for a continuance? Nope. Do we have any motions?
Through the chair. I'll motion that we approve use permit 18-027 with findings of fact and conditions of approval and the amended findings of fact 1 through 6.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. No. Okay, so we have 4 ayes, 1 no, and the ayes carry the vote. Thank you for coming to the meeting tonight. Okay, item C is 637 San Mateo Avenue. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Good evening. My name is Ami Upadhyay, Planning Department staff. The applicant is requesting for a use permit to allow alcohol beverages, beer and wine sales with type 41 ABC license in conjunction with a restaurant doing business as At Last Pizza Parlor. Amina Habib is the owner and applicant, and Alan Kuhn is the architect. The subject site is located in San Bruno Park First Edition track and within the Central Business District. The proposal would allow the operator to sell beer and wine for consumption on the premises with the dining area and in the small outdoor sitting area. The existing commercial space is approximately 6,532 square feet with a dining area that is approximately 1,132 square feet with a seating for 27 people. There is a small outdoor sitting area which is 194 square feet and that would have 4 tables and 13 chairs. The remaining 5,400 square feet is dedicated to the kitchen, cook line service, storage, refrigerator, and small back office. The main entrance is located on the San Mateo Avenue. The menu includes a variety of handmade pizza, pie, sandwiches, salads, and also offers various desserts, juices, and smoothies. The other uses near the project site include a variety of other restaurants, retail, and office spaces. Alcohol sale would only be available to diners at the restaurant, and the hours of operation will be 10 a.m. to 12 a.m. Monday to Thursday, and 10 a.m. to 1 a.m. on Friday through Sunday. There are 6 security cameras installed inside the restaurant area, and 2 additional cameras will be installed on the outside. The existing restaurant is a permitted use within the central business zoning district. Therefore, Planning Commission approval is only required for the sale of beer and wine. If the Planning Commission approves this application, the applicant will also be required to obtain a Type 41 liquor license from the California Department of Alcohol and Beverage Control. All the times, the service of alcohol beverages will be incidental to the food service. The alcohol sales are not intended to the primary source of income for the operator, but as a way to increase the pleasure of the dining experience and increase sales. The police department has also reviewed and is not opposed to the application based on the recommended condition of approval for the project. If any operational issues arise in the future related to the use permit, the Community Development Director has the authority to call the item back to the Planning Commission. Staff sent a legal notice to all property owners within 300 feet of the subject site on February 6, 2019. No comments have been received as of writing this report. This concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any question you might have.
Does the Commission have any questions? No? No? So I have a couple of questions. I think the last time this came before us was at the October 17, 2017 meeting when there was a request for an alcohol permit for Hash and Brews. And I reviewed the recommendations from that meeting, and I noticed that there were some differences in what the police department recommended. So, for example, in this particular request, it says the applicant shall, which is a requirement, install a video surveillance system. But in the October 17th request, it was only a recommendation, and I'm wondering why one is a requirement and one is a recommendation. Why is it required of this applicant, but it wasn't required of the last applicant?
I don't have the exact answer because I didn't consult with the police department on this, but my best assumption of why it's required here is that this is in our downtown business district, and there is a higher incidence of crime there than up at Bay Hill Shopping Center.
Okay.
I get the police blotter every day, and I read it, and I can just tell you there is more crime that occurs here than up there.
Okay.
So
okay, and
I believe that led to the requirement for that video surveillance.
Okay, and then for some reason on the last recommendation, it was recommended also that the applicant submit emergency contact information to the police department for after-hours emergency contact. That's not a requirement here. I don't know if it's maybe the police department already has it. I don't know.
Yeah, they might already have a contact for this. I know that the applicant in this case also owns a business across the street, and they are familiar with the applicant, so they may already have that. When we get the conditions from police, it's somewhat of an educational experience in that we are educating each other, but also them on like how to word the conditions. And so over time, we've moved away from recommended, just simply because it doesn't have a lot of teeth, and moved towards shall. So that is also kind of what you're experiencing. So we have these conversations internally, like, well, do you want it or not? You know, it's either it's required or it's not required. And so that could explain a little bit of the evolution of the conditions.
Okay.
Through the chair? Sure. I just have a comment on that. Being a business owner in San Bruno, we have to fill out applications, and part of that is a form with all of the emergency information after hours. So it's part of a packet.
That they may have already
Probably,
filled out.
I've not ever seen it in the Planning Commission in my 28 or 9 years, but it is part of a requirement when you're applying for business.
Okay. So then they probably already have it, is my guess. And
Expect
then
that.
the other one I noticed was that the exterior doors shall have their own light source, which is not a requirement here. And I wasn't sure, again, if there's a reason for that.
That could be have to specifically do with the layout of that particular location. I'm not familiar with the Hash and Brews location versus this location. I know that it's a little dark at the back of Hash and Brews because there's a place that's it's over to the corner of the shopping center, and not many people go back there, so that could have been the reason for a light source.
Okay.
But again, we really rely upon PD when they look at the plans to give us what their recommendations are, and it could be that they are specifying those conditions based upon what they're actually seeing on the plans, and so therefore there's a certain amount of customization per each project.
Okay, and what I want to emphasize is just that we're treating all of our businesses alike, and of course I'm for video surveillance systems, but there's a cost to a small business to do that, and so if it's required of this applicant and it wasn't required of a previous applicant, it's just nice to know what that reasoning is. So I'd like to invite the applicant up.
Hello everyone, my name is Maqsood Wayne, and I'm actually Amna Habib's husband. She's my wife. She's the one who owns the building, and I manage it for her because conveniently I'm across the street from this location. I'm just gonna start off with just saying I moved in San Bruno in 1991. Since then, I tried to move out twice, but I somehow end up here always. And I love the city. And that's why I have two businesses across the street from each other, and hopefully another one so we can improve the neighborhood. One of my goal is to improve the downtown area, which is still kind of in the verge of going up a little bit. We both opened Atlas Pizza last year, and prior to that, we've been under construction, getting approvals for over a year. And I'm so happy that we were able to do that because some of you might have noticed because it's really improved the area. We are well lighted, probably the most lighted place on the avenue. And because of not having beer and wine license, we lose a lot of customers. We cannot allow them to bring any alcohol, and pizza and wine and beer goes together like hand in hand. And so that's why I actually have two other businesses. We have both of these businesses we've been doing business without alcohol. One in San Francisco, which is a restaurant as well, and one in San Bruno, and so far. But with this particular location, almost like necessary to have beer wine because they just go well together so well. And I looking forward to have a secure family environment so people can come enjoy beer and parents can have beer, wine, kids can enjoy pizza. So far we've been doing very good. Thank you for the planning department and building department. We came up with a very I would say so designed so it's really provide people outdoor seating area and inside when there's summer days. We also planning to do the awning so people can really enjoy the daytime sitting outside and having pizza experience.
Thank you. Any questions, comments from the commission? No. So we are fans of, we've been to all 3 of your restaurants.
Thank you.
So thank you. And I saw the before and after of both Atlas and Nori. You've done a phenomenal job in those locations.
Thank you.
And so would someone like to start the motion?
Through the chair?
Yes.
I'm happy to. If there are no other comments, make a recommendation that the Planning Commission approve use permit 18-025 based on the findings of facts 1 through 5 and conditions of approval 1 through 14.
And I'll second that.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any noes? Yes. The ayes carry it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Okay. So the next item up is D1270 El Camino Real.
Thank you, Ann. Good evening. The item before the Planning Commission tonight is a use permit amendment to increase the number of amusement machines from 43 to 50 in conjunction with an existing amusement game center doing business as Chuck E. Cheese. The existing Chuck E. Cheese is located within the San Bruno Town Center. Many of you are familiar with San Bruno Town Center. It contains a variety and a mixture of land uses. We have major tenants there, such as Lowe's, Lucky's, Best Buy, and Marshall's. There's also a variety of restaurants, personal services, and offices. The Chuck E. Cheese building pad is located in the southeast quadrant of the San Bruno Town Center adjacent to the intersection of Huntington Avenue and Sneath Lane. Just to provide you a little background information, in 1993, the Planning Commission approved an architectural review permit to construct a 9,000 square foot structure and a use permit to establish an amusement gaming center. The use permit was approved with a condition that limits the number of amusement machines to a total of 43. As a result, the applicant has applied for a use permit amendment to increase the number of amusement machines to 50 with this current application. Staff finds that increasing the number of amusement machines from 43 to 50 is relatively minor in nature. There is adequate space within the interior of the existing business to accommodate the additional gaming machines. Additionally, the project has been reviewed by the police department, and they support the application as proposed. The existing amusement game center would be subject to the original conditions of approval placed on the project in 1993. I would like to point out that we have included one specific condition of approval that I'd like to highlight. That's condition of approval number 6, which addresses the number of amusement machines. Condition of approval number 6 reads, there shall be no more than 50 amusement machines installed and maintained on the premises at any time. Any increase in the number of amusement machines beyond 50 shall require authorization from the Community Development Director and the Chief of Police. The intent of this condition is to provide the applicant more flexibility going forward in the future. And in the future, if they elect to go above and beyond 50 gaming machines, it could be handled at staff level as opposed to going back to the Planning Commission. Staff did send a required legal notice to all property owners within 300 feet of the subject property. We did not receive any comments. And with that, this concludes my presentation. We would recommend that the Planning Commission approve the use permit request subject to findings 1 through 3 and conditions of approval 1 through 6. I'd be happy to answer any clarifying questions that you have. Thank you.
Through the chair, just one question. Do you know the capacity of Chuck E. Cheese? Right.
You know, that's a good question. I actually do not know the overall capacity. I know it is a 9,000 square foot commercial space and can accommodate a number of individuals. I don't have the specific number, though.
No worries. Thank you.
Any other questions?
Through the chair. Just to confirm, it looks like from the plans that were provided to us in our packets that there's going to be some internal remodeling involving removal of the stage, which and some relocating of tables and seating and perhaps some bathroom and order counter areas. Is that correct?
Correct. The proposal before the commission tonight is part of a larger tenant improvement plan that was essentially has been submitted to the building division. So there are a series of interior improvements outside of the increase in the number of amusement machines. Yes. To answer your question, there's a number of other improvements going
I
on.
assume the applicant will tell us more about that, too.
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Does the applicant want to come up? Great.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Correct, as Matt mentioned, we're for building applications as well as approval for the conditional use of increasing our games to 50. The current occupancy is 441, just to let you know.
Okay.
And we're not increasing that. We're not increasing seating. We are actually only proposing, in this plan, we're only increasing the games by 3, but we'd like to have that, just the flexibility to have 50 games. Since 1993, the diversity in games has gotten a lot, it's increased, and now it makes for more of a richer experience for the whole family. We're a family entertainment center, so you might think that Chuck E. Cheese is just for kids, but actually when you go to our remodeled stores, which we've remodeled about 50 stores so over the last couple years, it's more interactive. As you mentioned, we're removing the stage, which is an animatronic stage. But what we do is we replace it with an interactive dance floor that Chuck E. Cheese comes out and throws tickets out and interacts with the kids and makes for a lot, as I mentioned, interactive experience, and where you're not just sitting and watching animatronics from early 90s, but you're actually interacting with a live character. So as you mentioned, yes, it's part of a remodel. We're remodeling the exterior. Not remodeling, we're changing the exterior, giving it a fresher look, new signage. Interior-wise, it's all new seating, new carpet, all new finishes, new front counters will be replaced to be at the ADA compliant height. So it's going to be a totally remodeled store, and increasing we're excited to be able to offer, as proposed to you, a few more games to not only appeal to little kids, but also the teenagers and adults as well.
So I just have a question. So I was just at Chuck E. Cheese for my son's birthday a couple weeks ago, 2 weeks ago actually. So then the additional arcade games, there's no space now to put them, so that's for the new. Is it for the new?
It's for
center?
the remodeled.
Okay.
So yeah, we do create some with the demolition of the stage.
Mm-hmm.
We push the birthday rows a little bit forward.
Gotcha.
With the removal of the stage, yeah, and it does open up some space.
And then will this be coming to planning, or this is going to be done just through the planning department? The changes.
It's just a building permit.
Okay.
Since it's interior.
Okay. What's the timeline for the new Chuck E. Cheese?
Well, we'd like to, based on approval,
Mm-hmm.
we'd like to start in April based on getting our permits, and we probably could start about 3 weeks after we get our permits. So hopefully that falls right in April, maybe mid-April.
Okay. And if my fellow commissioners have not gone, I will say on Sunday night there was no seating at all. It was absolutely packed. You could barely even walk. So it does get a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good news.
Yeah. Maybe
I hope you had a good time.
I don't know
at
if it was on
birthday.
Sunday night. Yeah, no, it was my son's birthday, but it's definitely fun for adults too. And
Yeah.
the cards you guys have with
Yeah, the
unlimited
play
games,
pass,
great
yeah.
idea. Yeah. Any questions or comments?
Through the chair. Will you be remodeling in a progression, or you're going to be closed for a period of time?
We actually do our construction at night, so it's done during the evening or during when the store's
No loss
closed.
of business, no loss of
No, yeah, we
of
try
fun.
to.
Okay, good. Thank you.
We're not doing any. The front counters are probably the biggest work, but it's mostly superficial work, finishes. Taking out the stage, which is a big piece of equipment, and then putting it in the dance floor. So we're not building a lot of walls, and we are adjusting the vestibule, but it's mostly finishes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And just for the record, we have one person in the audience, but is there any public comment on this item? Seeing as how there is none, I'll go back to the commission. Any other questions or comments?
Yes, I was curious to know what the new entertainment machines might be. Does the interactive floor count as one of those, or
That is, it's not in the commission packet. It's not a game. It's more of a show. It's a dance floor, as you see at any dance floor that maybe at a wedding or whatever. But it's the tiles in the dance floor interact with as you step on it. They light up, or in some cases you can actually have a whole. It's like a big TV on the floor.
yeah,
but
kind of
it
like
interacts
Dance
with the-
Revolution?
Similar, but even more interactive, and we can do more things with it. The games I believe are in the planning commission packet. Each one of them are noted, their location and what they do. Some of them are skills games like skee ball, where you throw a ball, or basketball, and then other games are kiddie rides, so a carousel. A kid might go on a carousel, or they can get their picture drawn up, or some are video games. So it's a mixture. It's a real diverse set of games, and the hope is to give it a little bit more ability. We do have a toddler area that's for kids 6 and under, and then 7 and above, kind of as you enter on the left-hand side, and then there's some skills games that I mentioned, like skee ball and NBA hoops that are along the side wall.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
Any other questions, comments? No? Questions, comments? We have a motion.
I'd like to move to approve application number UP 18-030, subject to findings 1 through 3 and conditions of approval 1 through 6.
Second.
Okay. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. So the motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Item 6, discussion. City staff discussion. Select the March 14, 2019 Architectural Review Committee members.
It's March 14th.
Yes, we will be. We anticipate having that meeting. Okay, great. Commissioner Johnson, Commissioner Lethine, and Commissioner Legasse. Thank you.
And I'll do standby in case somebody can't make it.
Stand by. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay. Does any other commissioners have any discussion comments or items?
I do. Oh,
Okay.
do you want to go through yours first and then mine?
You can go first.
Okay.
I have some.
So, you might have mentioned the last meeting, I let you know that the City Council authorized the consultant agreement and the budget out of the general fund for the San Mateo Avenue Streetscape Plan. So, I'm excited to announce that we are working on our first workshop, which is actually called a walk shop, which, just like the name, it involves some walking. So we are blessed with consultants who are skilled in community engagement in the specific area around streetscape planning, and one of the most exciting ideas of their proposal was this community engagement session called the Walk Shop. So we are going to schedule that in March, and it will actually be on a weekday starting around 10 a.m. And the goal of that is because our audience for this walk shop is specifically the business community in the downtown on the avenue. So in order to sort of come to them and try to get the best time, we thought it would be a weekday morning around 10. And when we have that date finalized, we will let you know the date along with the City Council and the Bicycle and Pedestrian Advisory Committee. We will be distributing that to the business community, but I would just ask that if you know specifically any business contacts in the downtown that you've talked to, that you pass along the contact information, either the phone or the email, or just, hey, I mentioned it to this business owner, and we can go hand them the flyer that we're working on. We will obviously be distributing that to a wide audience, but I've also felt like the personal touch of, hey, we'd really like you to get involved helps. We will also have a Saturday morning community meeting, and that date might be the last Saturday in March or the first one in April. So when we have that date, which I think may be a better time for some of you, a Saturday morning, we'll let you know that. That's sort of the biggest special project that the Planning Division is working on right now. And the other item that you know that we're working on is the small wireless ordinance and standards. So we're currently finalizing those, and when we have them finalized, then we will schedule them for review, and then ultimately they'd go to City Council for the adoption of the ordinance. We did conclude our community input session, so you might remember at our last meeting we asked for any community input to be emailed to us, and I think we got 2 of the forms in submitted to us, but if you we thought that was a good session just to get some input in a different type of forum, and I appreciate that you allowed us to combine it with a regular meeting just because it allowed us to facilitate both educating you and the public in a meeting setting and then getting community input, so thank you. The last are just training opportunities. So I wanted to mention, and I want to thank Commissioner Lethine and Commissioner Johnson for going to the League of California Cities Planning Commissioner Academy. It is all the way in Long Beach, and that's March 6th through 8th. So I appreciate you taking the time out of your week to attend, and I hope that you update us when you get back. And if you don't want to go to Long Beach, then the 21 Elements, which is a county organization of planning divisions and cities on the peninsula. Home for All, which is a local county organization related to housing, and the American Plan Association are hosting a workshop about housing in San Mateo County. That's all the way on April 30th, but it is free and at the San Mateo Library, and it includes dinner at 6. So I'll mention that one more time. Since it's in April. And then last, I want to let you know the City Council interviewed candidates for the 2 Planning Commission vacancies. That was on February 12th, and they are scheduled to make the appointment at the next meeting on February 26th. I don't know exactly the timing for when those 2 new commissioners would be sworn in, and if they would be, at the either special meeting of March 5th or the regular meeting of March 19th, but when I know more, I will let you know. And we would also update the website too. So that concludes my updates. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I'd like to comment, if I may. I was at the first introductory presentation of the 21 Elements, and it was a good meeting. It's very good for meeting other planning commissioners and other staff through the county and comparing notes. What are their issues and how do they handle them? The meeting was very well handled. The location is very good, so I highly recommend it.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the commissioners? So I have a couple. I just wanted to ask for a follow-up on the 4 items that were requested at the last commission meeting, and when we could expect those documents or those
Sure.
updates.
So we noted them in the minutes, and our intent is to provide information about them and whether we can provide them or not when we bring forth the wireless ordinance and the design standards for you. However, there may be items that we provide more information on relative to the specific item requested. But I would defer that, since that item is not on the agenda, to wait until you get the staff report for that wireless ordinance and standards.
Okay, and then can I request that when you do bring out that when the staff report comes out, that you include whether these 4 items were included in that or not, just for the record?
We'll have a section in the staff report that's sort of a follow-up to all the items that previously were asked for or discussed in these meetings.
Okay. And then I wanted to ask staff to comment on, I know that Ms. Smith was kind enough to meet with me and explain this a little bit further, but the impact fee item went to the City Council, And I know that one of the items that were discussed, which are part of the general plan, page 5.8, and this is the city maintaining the parkland dedication in lieu fee of 4.5 acres per 1,000 residents. Can you just maybe briefly talk a little bit about what did go to the city council that would change that requirement?
So the development impact fee, which consisted of an ordinance and a resolution, both enacting the fees and setting the fees, went to the city council, and along with that went the rescinding of our current park in lieu fee, or I should say parkland dedication ordinance, and the way that is typically met is through the payment of an in lieu fee. And in consultation with our city attorney and our legal counsel on this matter, they basically advised us that the enaction of the development impact fee, which has a park component, replaces that existing ordinance. You can't have both. You can't double charge. That's in violation of the law. And for a variety of reasons, staff felt that the new development impact fee was a better approach because it applies to both rental and ownership properties, and the current ordinance does not. It only applies to subdivisions. As you know, having looked at many projects over the years, there are often rental units before you. Also, we found that the ordinance was difficult to administer because there's not a fee amount in the ordinance or set by resolution. It's a case-by-case basis, and we actually have to hire an appraiser. So we will be doing that for the 111 San Bruno Avenue project, but we cannot actually tell the developer the fee without that appraisal, and we don't have that available to us. So it doesn't affect the city's ability to get funds or obtain funds to use to improve park facilities in the city. And as you may know, we have a big project underway, the city's Recreation and Aquatic Center. We also have the Florida Park project. So we are actively working on improving our parkland. So that remains the goal. And I want to also let you know that the capital improvement plan should be come before you in the spring. I don't have an exact date, but that is where sort of the Planning Commission does review any list of projects, and it ensures that those are consistent with the general plan. And that may or may not include parkland projects this year, but generally includes a lot of public works projects. So I think you're used to seeing all of those and making that determination.
Okay, so then that actually brings me into my last comment, which is I just want to, again, take this opportunity as a Commissioner of Planning to look at our general plan and, again, emphasize the importance of what we're supposed to be looking at, which includes when there is school property potentially up for sale or for acquisition. The San Bruno Park School District approved 3 sites to be designated as surplus. It's Rollingwood, El Cristal, and the district office. Rollingwood I won't comment on at this time because there aren't really any specific plans at this time for that, but I want to comment that El Cristal, I mentioned months ago that the city should consider the purchase of El Cristal at a significantly discounted rate. That's 3.5 acres that could have been additional park space adjacent to the most popular park in the city. It's still unclear whatever came of that, except that we know that property that could have been sold to the city at a significantly discounted rate has been sold to a private school. There was never a report back to the Planning Commission on the comment made, and it was sold for over asking to a private school. I really feel that this was a lost opportunity for the city, and it's unfortunate that it's gone now. So I really want to emphasize this next point, which is the district office, which is whether there's a potential. So the general plan says that there's supposed to be a civic center complex master plan. At this time, if we're looking at planning for the city for the next 50 years, 100 years, 150 years, we really should be looking at not just school sites, but what is our overall goal for the city of San Bruno? Is it possible to rebuild Allen, which is actually currently being agendized at the school board meetings? I believe that there's a vendor being selected now to rebuild Allen at the district site. And because this Mills Park project is going to go all the way to the Allen School and to the library, to then look at that as a potential master civic center, that would be really amazing for the city of San Bruno. So as a planning commissioner, I feel like it's our responsibility to be looking at the general plan and what opportunities are available for the city. But I think it's the city's responsibility to take those opportunities to the next step and actually start those discussions. So I wanted to plant that seed because they're at these initial stages for Allen School. And I think that now is the time for the city to be having discussions like this with the school district. So again, as part of a master plan, is that even a possibility? And we don't know if it is unless the discussions are had, right? So I really want to encourage the city to take that step and see whether that's a possibility. Okay, thank you. Okay, and I got a note earlier today and was asked to read this. So we're going to be adjourning. It's 8:48 p.m. The next regular Planning Commission meeting will be held on March 19, 2019 at 7 o'clock p.m. at the Senior Center, 1555 Crystal Springs Road, San Bruno. The agenda incorrectly listed the adjournment to the next regular Planning Commission meeting to be tentatively held on March 5, 2019 at 7 p.m. However, this meeting would be a special meeting and is not confirmed at this time. Therefore, per the bylaws, the correct protocol is to adjourn to the next regular Planning Commission meeting, which is on March 19th. If the special meeting is required, the required notice will be provided in advance of the meeting. Thank you. Meeting adjourned.